What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another live podcast recording for the Engadget podcast. I'm senior editor Devendra Hardawar, and today I'm joined with Cherlynn Lowe. Hey, Cherlynn, our reviews editor.
Hello.
Hello, and Ben Ellman, our podcast producer.
Hi.
Hello, and just a basic overview of what we'll be talking about. This is an episode that'll be dedicated to, let me just pull up all of our notes here, Samsung's Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. I am really getting tired of keeping track of Samsung's model names. This is the Note 20 Ultra, so specifically that one. And we'll be talking a bit about Fortnite v. Apple and a whole bunch of stuff, but I'll leave it up to Ben to give us a summary of our show rundown. What's up, Ben?
Okay, so we've got, yes, the Galaxy Note Ultra. This was the same phone. If
Galaxy
you
Note 20 Ultra.
Yes,
Galaxy
Note 20 Ultra.
Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. Okay, now I see what you're talking about in terms of being annoyed at this.
Yes.
But if you are a recent devotee to the Engadget podcast live, this is exactly what Cherlynn got delivered live on air.
Oh, man, this is some serialized storytelling.
Yes, that is along with the Galaxy Watch. So this is going to be more hands-on. You know, it was a couple of weeks ago. She had only just started touching it. And so we're now we have like all the
post-touching impressions.
Yeah,
it's our full review is up, so we're actually just allowed to say definitively how we feel about the thing, basically, rather than not tell you.
And moving on from there, we also have Epic's Apple Store protest.
Quote unquote protests, like come on,
quote unquote protest. I mean, if corporations are people, does that mean that they can protest? But it was so Fortnite was removed from the App Store because there was some stuff about how Epic wanted to be paid directly rather than through Apple, and then whether or not Apple could get a little cut of things, and then Apple took them off the App Store, and then Fortnite hit back with like a Fortnite version of the 1984 commercial.
It's a very calculated whole thing. We will talk about what this means and what happens when billion-dollar companies and actually trillion-dollar companies have a slap fight and consumers get hurt because of it. So hey.
And then next up on platform news, we also have just some Facebook stuff. Facebook is going to require a Facebook login for Oculus users. That, like, people aren't really happy about that.
Nope.
And it's been a few weeks, but we figure that we should say something about how Instagram is trying to compete with TikTok. I don't know about you, but there has been a top bar in my Instagram Discover page that is really trying to promote, like it takes up a good third of the screen on my the top of the Discover page. Kat Dennings is making Instagram Reels now.
You know how they're going to compete with TikTok? By making Instagram harder to use? I don't think that math works, but okay.
And then we're working on a bunch of stuff. Devs has a gaming laptop guide. Cher is working on some USPS stuff, you know, based around the kerfuffles around the United States Postal Service that we've had. Excuse me. Then we've got pop culture picks and all sorts of other fun stuff. Remember, we're going to be doing segment tapings, and then if you have things that you want to say, I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at TweetDeck. So if you want to say anything, I'm looking at the YouTube chat, and if you don't want to fight it out in the YouTube chat, I'll be looking at Engadget #podcast live.
Tweet at Engadget #podcast live. Yep.
There we go.
All right. I feel
we did a little bit of prep work before we went live on the video today. So we've got some of that clapping to sync stuff done. We're more ready than before.
We're ready.
We're ready for you guys.
But yeah, talk about Cherlynn. We're always ready.
Oh, okay.
We're always prepared. Yeah.
But yeah,
so we do clearing up like show planning stuff. Anything we want to clear up in the show notes before we begin? Is everybody good?
I think we're good. I mean,
you have your secret picks, Cherlynn. Cherlynn will always have her secret pop culture picks for me.
I was gonna say that, like, also any feedback that, you know, viewers might have about this live stream format and what we could do more of or less of, whatever you want, just leave it in there, and we appreciate all the feedback. We're still like testing this thing out.
Yeah, unless your feedback is less of all of this, where
if you want us to stop live streaming altogether, I
That's just
mean,
rude.
I would be happy to go and
just podcast.
just
You
go
know,
back to
there's
audio
something.
only. It would
I will
be...
say it's fun to be able to interact with the audience
Oh, for
because
sure.
when it's
Yeah, I
audio
like it a lot,
only,
too.
it is just us yelling at each other
It is. It's
you
a
know,
little more aggro.
in the early mornings.
And I mean, no, and a lot of the comments have been pretty nice, especially like when people aren't actually asking questions of us that we don't have answers to. Like, Samsung, why is this thing so expensive? I'm like, I don't have the answer for you, friend. But you know, a lot of the other people are very, very nice.
Yes. Okay. Well, do we have any things we want to clear up before we begin? Any user questions?
I
or
would
anything?
like to clear up that
Yes.
I feel like it would be remiss in a technology and generally nerdy stuff podcast not to acknowledge that this is episode 42. Which is Answer to Life, the Universe, and Everything.
I mean, yeah.
Shout out
Kids
to
these
Douglas
days
Adams.
do not know these.
Yeah, that's true.
References.
The last Hitchhiker's Guide, like big piece of media was who was
The
it?
weird movie.
Yeah. Who was
Wasn't Mos Def? Starred Mos Def in a few books.
I mean, Mos Def was in it. Also,
Zoe Deschanel.
Watson from BBC Sherlock. What is his name? Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. Yep, that was him. Hey, we're talking about that movie no one's talking about, which I don't hate, but yeah, it's not the book.
Which movie no one's talking about?
Galaxy Guide, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anyway, this is episode 42 for the nerds out there.
And special bonus content for the people on the stream. I'm going to play with the note and see if I can answer any questions that don't already have answered.
Cool. Lock in your questions, load them up. We are going to kickstart the show soon. You guys good to go?
I am.
Take a sip of water.
I'm going to make sure I double check my Audacity levels.
Make sure your mics are right.
Good.
Yeah.
Ben, you're going to have to deal with the fact that I'm a little bit further from the mic than before.
That's fine.
It's still high up enough that it's in front of my face.
Okay.
And it's still going and levels look fine.
Okay. So fire when ready.
Okay. We're going to kick off the show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Engadget podcast. I'm senior editor Devendra Hardawar.
I'm reviews editor Cherlynn Lowe.
And today it's all about Samsung's Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. We'll be talking about Cherlynn's in-depth impressions of that phone, and also diving a bit into Fortnite and Apple. Well, not Fortnite, Epic and Apple's billion-dollar war. Their little slap fight over the App Store, which not so great for consumers, but it's a long story. Let's put it that way. We'll also be diving in a bit into Facebook news, Facebook forcing Oculus users to use Facebook for logins, how they're competing with TikTok or failing to compete with TikTok. I think that's the better way to phrase it.
Yep.
And as always, our pop culture picks and a whole bunch of stuff. If you've been enjoying the Engadget podcast, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. And actually, no matter where you get your podcast from, please leave us a review on iTunes. That's super helpful.
Yes.
You can shoot us a note at podcast@engadget.com. And if you're around Thursday mornings, you can join us live typically around 10 a.m. Eastern as we record the show, and you'll be able to participate and watch us as we, make the sausage, but you can also ask questions, and it's a fun interactive experience. And really, what else are you going to do on a Thursday morning?
Except work?
No work. Work does not exist.
I wish.
That's us. Let's move on. Okay. Next section.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. And let me just say, I hate Samsung's model names.
That's
so
a mouthful.
Much. It's not even the only Note 20, right? There's another Note 20.
There is the regular Note 20.
The baby Note 20, which is also a big, big phone. God.
Calling it a baby is almost, it's a misnomer.
It's a big boy. Yeah.
It's an adolescent boy. Let's put it that way. It's not all there yet.
Yeah, you reviewed this phone, Cherlynn.
Well, so I didn't.
Yeah. Did you review it?
I didn't review it the way. I mean, our review's up on Engadget.com. It went up on Tuesday this week.
Yeah.
Chris Velasco, our senior editor.
Let me say that. Let me reboot this so I can transition you better. So Chris Velasco, our mobile editor, reviewed this phone, Cherlynn, but you also have it.
Yes.
I guess you've just been playing with it. So
yes.
What are your thoughts?
So Chris Velasco, whom we shall call V from now on, V's review went up on Tuesday on the site. And that's because it's also more or less for sale now-ish. You could pre-order before. Overall, I agree with V on this. His main takeaway is that this is a good phone, but it costs way too much. And I fully agree. I mean,
good takeaway for a lot of phones. Yeah,
$1,300. That's so close to the price of a Surface Duo, which is basically 2 devices in one. But it does have high-end specs, right? These cameras are great. The build is so much better than the S20 Ultra, which was from February, and it was like
the normal S20
no
Ultra.
The one from February, the Galaxy, the one without the stylus.
I hate
shall we
these
say
names.
that? I know.
I hate these names. Okay.
For a person who doesn't study Samsung the way me and V do, it can be very confusing. Like, we know we can distinguish.
Hey guys, I know tech. I do this for a living, and
I know
I'm over here looking like, I imagine what a normal consumer thinks when they're walking to a store or something like. This is what I was saying. Samsung, like too much crap. But okay.
We've said this before. Samsung does make too damn many phones, but you almost need a degree in Samsung to know all of their different device lines.
You don't want that degree.
You don't.
By Professor Bixby? No, thank you.
Oh, don't even. Bixby barely even features in any of the lineup this year.
Yeah.
So
Bixby's been canceled. So long, Bixby.
The Note 20 Ultra, it's basically a lot of the site's reviews came out on Tuesday that all mostly agreed, right? This is a refinement on the S20 Ultra. The screen is gorgeous. The build just feels better. For me, when I hold it, even though it's basically the same weight as the S20 Ultra, I just feel like the Note 20 Ultra is so much easier to maneuver. Like, I can hold it with one hand.
Is it a bigger screen? Because the S20 Ultra is also very big.
Yeah, it's a slightly bigger screen, if I'm not wrong. The exact dimensions are kind of escaping me right now, but the Note 20 Ultra has a 6.9-inch screen, which I believe Samsung has said is the largest in the Galaxy or Galaxy Note so far. But it's also got 120 hertz refresh rate, and that's the same as the S20 Ultra, but somehow it feels really much better, I think, on the Note 20 Ultra. I don't know what other refinements Samsung might have done, but it does feel amazing. I'm a stylus girl, but I'm with a lot of people who have tweeted at me who are like, yeah, but I feel like the initial excitement over having an S Pen will blow over some time. And they're right. Unless you are frequently taking notes by hand on this phone, or you're, a fan of navigating, or you're using it as a remote control, which you can, you won't really use the stylus that much. Like, unless you're already an invested Note 20 user, the stylus is not going to make a huge difference.
And just to be clear, like, the stylus was always the thing about Note phones. Like, from the beginning, like when Samsung started making these, like nearly 10 years ago, and basically created the phablet, I don't know, category, like, and I hated calling it that. They were big and unwieldy, but hey, you had a stylus and you could do more with your phone than you could with a normal smartphone. Do you feel like, Cherlynn, that do we need the stylus anymore? I feel like touch typing is better. There's so many other ways to input into your phone rather than, taking out a little stick and drawing.
I know. I see your point. There's a lot of people who are power users that aren't stylus users. And for those people, maybe they don't need the stylus. For me, I still find it handy occasionally when, like, I want to trigger the camera from afar and stuff like that. And I can't discount the fact that there are people who still use the S Pen. Also, if you don't want the S Pen, you're looking at an S20. Like, that's the main thing that differentiates the Note line from the S line is the S Pen. So, like, it still has reason to exist. I don't think Samsung should stop making these.
Is the hardware actually better than the S20 line? Because I'm always confused by how this is basically like a half-year upgrade from Samsung, and they do this every year. So when somebody's waiting for a new Samsung phone, it's like, do you get the S line, or do you wait 6 months or so and get the Note line, and you never quite know what is going to be right for you?
It's slightly better. I will say first, just pure hardware wise, the chipset is the Snapdragon 865 Plus on the Note 20 Ultra, and then the the S20 Ultra is the Snapdragon 865 without the Plus. So slight performance differences, like 20% faster, 15% better graphics rendering, and then full suite of Snapdragon Elite gaming tools, that sort of stuff. But you're also looking at, Samsung, when they did the S20 Ultra, caught a lot of flack for the autofocus issues in the S20 Ultra, right? They did as 100 times zoom, but then their autofocus was just so bad. It would either not latch on at all, or it would take forever to find focus. That's been fully tweaked for the Note 20 Ultra, and actually it's very fast. Like, I've noticed the autofocus on this Note 20 Ultra's camera is impressive. It's not like wow, guns blazing, really good, but it's much better than the S20 Ultra. And I think because I can notice when it shifts focus that I can tell that focus is faster. I think most phones, you don't even realize that they focus that quickly, right? But
did they ever fix that issue with the S20? Because that feels like a software fix.
They did. Okay. They did issue, but it took forever for them to say when it was rolling out, and it took forever for them to really address it, like at least a few months. But the Note 20, because it's baked in, it just somehow feels a lot better, and it was more baked in.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I would say that in general, we've beat this dead horse till it's even more dead. But first gen, I mean, this isn't even a first gen thing, but this was like first gen with a new camera setup.
What are we at? What was last year's the Note 11? I forgot.
No, last year was the Note 10. I know.
Oh my god.
Anyhow, it was the
Samsung. Learn how to name things. Numbers matter. Sequences matter. Okay, come on.
Yeah, the S20 was sort of the first. It's always the first canvas for them to frequently first time for them to launch new things, and then the Note 20 iterates. Although sometimes they do things like the variable aperture thing on the Note first, and then it comes to the S that follows after. I don't know. Samsung, like you've been saying this whole episode, is a little confusing with its product lines, but it's trying.
I kind of wish the S line, the Note lines came out together, and there was no like big S. Just like the Note is the big one, which is what it used to be, and the S is like the normal person size one. And be a little clear. You know?
I think you're asking for them to shrink their product line, which is fine.
They make a ton of money. People buy all these things, so whatever. Not a multi-billion-dollar phone company. Yeah.
And one final note that I want to leave everyone with is that we have, people around the world have different variants of the Note 20 Ultra. And this is one of the biggest complaints I've seen from people on Twitter, is that there's an Exynos version that seems to be available in just Europe, India, and some other part. And then the US market gets the Snapdragon 865.
They've always done this, by the way. Like since the
done
first generation Galaxy phone. So
yeah, and there was a period of time they were trying to ditch Snapdragon altogether, which is quite funny. But anyway, and there is not just a performance delta. I think the best way to say it is an experience delta. Like there's a difference. The Exynos doesn't only like last shorter or run hotter. It just overall doesn't feel as fast, if I'm not wrong. This is based on feedback people have given me. I haven't played with the Exynos version myself.
Okay.
But battery life is shorter. It runs very hot, is what I've been told as well. It's just not fun. Overall, Samsung isn't the best chipset maker just yet, and it's unfair, I think, for a lot of people around the world to pay the same amount of money and get a worse experience.
It's like buying the same car, but getting a significantly worse engine, depending on if you live in North America or Europe or something. We have a question from our chat room. Thank you for joining us live, Keith. He's asking, isn't the 8K shooting just hype?
So
8K shooting on a tiny phone. Okay, go.
I tried the 8K shooting out a bit more in depth on the S20 Ultra. And I wouldn't say it's hype. It is that high resolution because it has that 108 megapixel sensor, main sensor. Right. It's able to shoot that sharp. But the issue is, there's it struggles with it's first of all, where are you going to play this back on to see it in full 8K glory?
This is where I get full crazy mode with Samsung. Like, what? 8K? This is a nice thing to put on the box.
There's 3 8K TVs in the world.
There are 3 8K TVs. You can't even get the file to the TV. Good luck storing the file on your phone. Good luck uploading it.
You're reduced to looking at this video then on either a 4K monitor if you have one, or the 2K screen of this phone. And when you downscale an 8K video down to a 2K screen, you're going to get artifacts. You're just going to see running ants, the Mario effect that you see. So it's not that it's bad. It's just that we haven't found the best canvas for it just yet.
8K is bad. No, I think you can say 8K bad. 8K
what
bad
I meant was
right
not
now.
that. What I meant was that it's not just hype. That it's not fake. You know what I mean? It is shooting at that high res, but it's bad in terms of execution. We're not able to play it just yet. And I fully agree with you that the concept
you can waste all your battery life and storage space on this thing, but
it's
can't
a lot
do
of storage space. I
call that fake. To me, I say
Dev.
It's just useless, but okay.
Yeah. But anyway, Dev and I agree on that. I just want to point out that yes, it exists and you can use it. And there one other feature that they enable with this 8K shooting thing is that their video editor, I have to give Samsung props. Samsung's Gallery app has a built-in video editor that is pretty good. It makes it's taking screenshots from your clips easier than almost any other video gallery app I've tried. And yeah, you just tap a button, you get a screenshot, and you get like a higher res screenshot than you would with like a 4K or a 2K clip, which is like duh, but that's the one useful thing I found about it so far, where like if you want to capture something in motion and you don't want to like be snapping stills, just grab a video, you grab in 8K, I guess, and then you grab the screenshots afterwards. You get better stills. Yeah, but
if your phone is still running, if you still have any storage space,
right, and that's very niche too. And yeah, you will run out of storage so quickly.
Just say no to 8K, kids. It's dangerous. It's
even
dangerous
4K
stuff. Even 4K on a phone. I can see doing 4K, because then you're like a little future proofing. Like right now, when I shoot videos of my daughter on my iPhone, like it's always 4K, because I want future TVs to be able to run it, and I have enough storage space to, like, it's manageable. You could do something with it. Guys, I've seen most of the 8K sets that are being sold. They look great. They cost tens of thousands of dollars.
They cost more than 8K. Let's just say
they're not a thing. Yeah, they cost more than 8K, but they're not a thing you'd actually want to buy. There's no content for it. Forget about 8K. Yeah. Like, this is a point where I try to tell people, like, just use your common sense as consumers. Okay, like, we just got over the 4K hump. We have more TVs and devices that can play that now, and even that is not. It's not a super noticeable bump over 1080p on smaller screens. So, like, I think even on phones, a 4K display isn't super helpful. But hey, it is a nice thing. It's nice that you can shoot 4K. 4K is the way. 8K, no way. 8K, no. I don't know. Ryan.
No to 8K. Don't spend 8K for 8K. I don't know. We'll figure some kind of saying out. But anyway. That's one part of the Note 20 Ultra that, you know, we might not have gotten as deep into in the review, but, you know, I'm glad we were able to talk about it here. I mean, overall, the battery life on the Note 20 Ultra is pretty good, except for, to be clear, I was never on 5G. And this is a 5G phone, which is part of why it's so expensive. And, you know, just to reiterate, our main takeaway is this phone is way too goddamn expensive.
Sure. And you're paying for things like 8K, which you may never actually use, and 5G, which most people don't even have access to. And when you do have access, if you're sitting at home, you probably won't get much actual 5G reception unless you're really close to a repeater, right?
Right. That's the thing, is I've been mostly at home. And even when I've gone out to look for the notes in my neighborhood, I haven't been able to connect, and I don't know if that's implementation issues or the signal just not showing up or whatever, but 5G still not there yet. This isn't the year to buy the 5G device.
All the big numbers, all the big tech numbers you're seeing, 8K, 5G, just be wary. Like, come on, and hey, the Pixel 4a that you just reviewed, $350, and it is
the small numbers are where it's
a dang good phone. Yeah, small numbers are better. That's the way to go. Anything else? Any other major takeaways? How does this differ from the Galaxy Note 10 to you?
The cameras are like the main difference, I think. The screen is pretty good. I mean, the Note 10 itself, I'm having a hard time remembering really what were the highlights. There's just so many phones in a year.
Was a decade ago. There's a lot that happened between last year and this year.
I think, just to name off the spec upgrades that I can think of, the chip is different. The battery is therefore longer lasting. The S Pen's latency is improved apparently significantly in terms of pure numbers, but when it comes down to experience, V in his review said he didn't see a big difference. Me neither. It never had a problem with it before. You can notice the improvement now, but it doesn't like make that huge of a jump for me. But then again, I'm not like a digital artist and that sort of thing.
If you're a digital artist, you probably, get a nice, like, honestly, even like a Surface to carry around, like, will be better for you for drawing and doing different things, and
Yeah, Dev will tell you all about the Surface because he loves
tell you
the
all
Surface
about the Surface.
Pen.
You can buy a Pixel 4a and a whole Surface for probably less than the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. Yeah.
Without the keyboard for the Surface.
Without the keyboard, if you're just drawing, sure.
Anyway, the spec upgrades from the Note 10 to the Note 20 Ultra are just Note 20, not 10 Plus anyway. They switched the naming on us last year. I know. Because the Note 10 was a baby that was like very low spec for the price. Same situation with the Note 20 this year too, by the way, which we haven't even gotten into, and we're not going to get into.
How do Samsung executives name their children? Are you just like Sun 1,
the older
Sun 1 Plus, Sun 1 Plus?
Ultra.
No. And now it's Ultra.
The middle
Your daughter 20. My third child is daughter 20 just because I want it. So okay.
The light. The baby light. Yeah. But no, I mean, if you want full impressions and all of the testing and all of the in-depth like specs and configuration information, the review is live on Engadget.com. You can check it out there.
Okay, cool.
Excellent.
Done with that
All
segment.
questions?
All right, kids.
So I thought that it was interesting, Devinder, that you're shooting videos of your daughter in 4K, and you're like, okay, that's future-proofing. But I'm also thinking like, oh man, that like, it removes some of the nostalgia of like the crappy old video.
Oh, trust me,
like...
I have a lot of crappy old video too. So there's a lot. Like that's a topic for a whole other thing. But I definitely have. You can trace like my evolution of phones with the photos. We can all do this with our photos. But
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say we're taking this time in between segments to like interact with the live stream people. I know that some people. So Keith noted that we answered his question in the way I think he agreed with. But then there are other people like Dr. Brain, I think, that are saying is a future proofing. Yeah,
don't think is a real doctor.
I mean, the username is Dr. Brain.
Sorry, Dr. Brain.
But yeah, I mean, future-proofing is a nice concept. And if you're planning to hold on to this phone for 2 years, I still don't know if 8K is going to be that great in 2 years. But
no. Like, guys, I research and write about TVs. Give 8K 5 years. Give 8K a long, long while. Like, there are so many other things that you can get in a TV that make the TV better rather than just raw resolution. Okay,
yeah,
so that's it. That's the real thing.
And to Dr. Brain's point, just don't use it for now. There was another question about selfie camera's smoothing effect. It's improved from before. So Samsung used to do very aggressive beautifying of your selfies, which is the worst thing was that it wasn't even something you could turn off. Like you could turn off the actual beauty effect through the interface, but you couldn't like the default
level. Don't you
want
to look like a cartoon level, like a cartoon character? Come on.
Yeah, it's
what everybody wants.
It's a little less aggressive. In fact, like I don't even think it's there anymore because I can see the marks on my skin in the selfies that I've taken. But to Keith's point, it is a good thing. I mean, it's better that I can have the base image be the real representation of me and then tweak it if I want it to, which I don't.
Shout out to Samsung for letting us look human. That's great.
Yes, thank you for letting us look like
human flaws.
Pores.
Yeah.
So I think one last question before we move on to the next segment about Fortnite. Someone asks if they have the Samsung Note 9, should they think about upgrading? What do you think?
About the Fortnite? I thought this. Okay.
No, about
no. This is Samsung.
Oh,
Note
you mean
9.
Moving on to the section about Fortnite? God,
No,
from the Note 9, I think so. I think every 2 year, the 2 year upgrade cycle makes sense for a reason because technology does sleep quite a lot in 2 years. I think for the Note 9, if your phone's not already dying, because by 2 years most phones are pretty old already,
which sucks, by the way.
Which does suck. It's a lot of e-waste. I hate that. But you're likely already experiencing some slowdowns in performance. Your battery is not as good as before. If those are things you want to change, you can consider upgrading. Now, I don't know that you need to upgrade to a Note 20 Ultra because that's expensive as hell. There are a lot of good Android phones out there, depending on what part of the world you're in. You might want to consider a OnePlus. It's pretty good if you don't want a stylus. You might want to consider the Pixel 4a if you're on a budget.
Will OnePlus last 2 years, you think?
The OnePlus phones have generally lasted pretty well, I think, because their software is so clean. But
I mean like physically. I mean like I've carried around OnePlus phones.
Oh, you mean like because they scratch so easily?
They fall apart. Yeah, I can't trust that screen. I can't trust like the case. That's all part of it.
Get your own case. Even though few third-party people make cases for OnePlus phones,
sure.
Definitely put it in a case. The ones that I've had have all held up. They're still hanging around. I missed kind of their like sandstone back case where it was more like sandpapery.
That was weird. I don't.
But it was more hardy. It didn't feel like it was going to fall.
I'll tell you, every time I borrow a OnePlus phone from V, something is wrong with the screen. Like this guy, and it's always OnePlus phones. It's always OnePlus phones.
No, V and other phones have had this.
So let's get like a couple of succinct recommendations. The things that I know we've been talking about a lot in the last few weeks are the OnePlus Nord and of course the Pixel 3a from just a couple of weeks ago. 4a. Yeah. 3a is the old one.
All the numbers, like listen, every model number naming convention sucks, but at least this one is understandable.
They all make sense except for Samsung.
Yeah.
So OnePlus Nord, Pixel 4a, and then maybe what one other would you say is maybe a leader?
I
round
wouldn't
out
even say the
top three?
OnePlus Nord is a good comparison. In fact, the 4A
'Cause
is
you
only a
can't
good
get it.
comparison. Yeah, you can't get
Yeah.
it. Plus, it's also the mid-range phone. And yes, to be fair, the 4A is also a mid-range phone. But between the Nord and the 4A, I think the 4A is just better for people in the US. There's not that many Android phones left to consider. I mean, there's only the Samsung line and the Google Pixel line. Wait for the Pixel 5. How about that? How about wait the 1 or 2 months left till the Pixel 5 before you upgrade from 9? I think it would be interesting to see what they
and or wait for some good deals in the Pixel 4. How about that? Because that's what happens in the run up.
The price will drop on the 4.
They did stop selling. I believe they took it down from the Google Play Store. Like they are trying to take it out of stock.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
But I will say still wait for the Pixel 5 because the Pixel 4 had
Just
issues
wait.
with battery that we weren't super a big fan of. So wait till the Pixel 5 and you can make your decision then. If you're still like your Note 9 is still holding out.
But I will say the best move right now for any tech, buy last year's model for cheaper. Like that's the smart move. But okay,
yeah, it could be.
What's
up?
All right, then. So let's move on to Epic and Apple's slap fight.
Oh, right. Please.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me just
go when
pull
you're
up
ready.
these stories, so I have the dates right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's move on to Epic Games and Apple's big fight. And what's actually happening here? Let me tell you guys, August 13th was a pretty crazy day when it came to news because what happened was in the morning, Epic added this update to Fortnite on iPhones and Android that basically gave you another way to pay for your purchases. So your skins, your whatevers, it was direct payment. And notably, that direct payment was cheaper than if you bought items through the Apple Store or Google Play Store because Apple, Epic is being very clear about what they're doing here. You're paying less if you pay us more. Like if you pay us directly, you'll actually get the stuff cheaper because Epic pays 30% of all their transactions to Apple, like most other developers. It was a straight up protest update, which is one of those weird things you see sometimes. They were like, they knew this was gonna go bad. So what happened after that? Apple, within a few hours, removed Fortnite from the App Store because the direct payment within the app violates App Store rules. And let me just say this: if this sounds crazy to you, you've probably never used like the Kindle app on iPhone or something. Amazon and a lot of other companies do this thing where you can access your content. You can access all your Kindle books, but you cannot buy Kindle books.
That is so weird to me.
Within the app. So you have to go to the web and do it. It's weird, but it's understandable because like they just don't want to give Apple a cut. And I think at this workaround is fine. Like it's fine because like you're not putting anything in the app to send people to the web. What Epic did was they put a direct button in the app showing you the price of direct payments versus iTunes payments. And that's a no-no. So Apple removed them from the App Store. Google also ended up removing them from Google Play. And then things got weird. Then this like marketing campaign appeared where they tweeted out this video that is a riff on the Apple 1984 ad, the famous one directed by Ridley Scott. It shows a Fortnite character throwing a hammer through a window. And that's when my eyes just rolled back of my head. Like I became dead because it was like, what is Epic saying? We're now in a dystopian future where this $1 billion company is fighting for its independence from a $1 trillion company. And hey, by the way, just yesterday, Apple announced, or Apple didn't announce, but Apple's market cap reached $2 trillion for the first time. So it is the first $2 trillion company. This is a fight, right? $1 billion Epic, pretty big studio. They're not like a small indie.
They're big.
And Big Apple fighting. This is wild. So now also after that ad came out, Epic sued Apple over its App Store policies. So this is like a weird concerted attempt. They're basically kind of throwing all their players and consumers under the bus in a way because Epic knew what was going to happen with the app. Like this is all purposeful. The ad was ready. This was all part of a marketing campaign to force Apple to do something differently. And hey, we've talked about this before. when we talked about the Tim Cook going to, was it the Senate, to talk about antitrust, part of the discussion was basically is it anti-competitive for Apple to have such control over the App Store and also to be charging 30% for transaction fees, and also not everybody has to pay that fee. So Amazon, I think we've learned, and a couple other companies have sweetheart deals where they don't pay as much to Apple. If you're using the Amazon app to shop on iOS, they're not giving as much up to Apple. They're not giving them a full 30%. So anyway, here we are. Apple and Epic are fighting, and the weird thing is, I think it's not, I wouldn't say it's noble, because Epic knows what it's doing. This is a $1 billion company trying to save money. Yeah. But yeah, what do you think, Cherlynn?
I like that they're trying to expose Apple. I think that what they're doing by showing the actual difference in price is saying, hey, if you're paying through the app and through the Apple commission, the price is going to be, that's why we have to charge you more for things. I wonder if Epic maybe faced some pressure that some of its like in-app purchases were too expensive, and this is probably why. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the motivation behind it. I do agree with you that I don't know that noble is a word I would use for it. I just think that Epic might think that it's time for people to pay more attention to what goes on so-called behind the scenes with the App Store. What with the congressional hearings having just taken place, like this timing is interesting. Like there's momentum there. People are more likely to be riled up by something like this than they were before, perhaps. I also like that in that ad that we were talking about where they had like a Fortnite character take over the Mac ad. The line, there's a line that Epic uses that says, "Join us in the fight to stop 2020 from becoming 1984." And I was like, whoa, 2020 is already 1984. Don't even. But do
also,
this.
yeah, it's not just 1984. It is Brave New World. It is everything. It is the Hunger Games. It is the climate change. Horror story that we haven't yet written. Gosh. Yeah. It just, to me, like this idea of Epic getting so heated over App Store policies is kind of ridiculous given everything else we're facing today. But also, I just want to point out, smaller developers probably would appreciate having different ways to pay Apple or different rates. Like,
for sure.
This is a more variable pricing model to charge developers, could be great for smaller developers who can't just do this big, protest or something. So in that respect, I do like that Epic and other people are talking about this. I just don't like the way they did it. It just seems really, really crummy. And let me just tell you guys what's at stake, by the way, like a number. The iOS version of Fortnite has raked in over $1.2 billion.
For Epic.
For Fortnite, yeah. And that's just the App Store version. That's just the iOS version. But go ahead, Cherlynn. What were you going to say?
I might have forgotten what I was going to say. No, I was going to ask you. So, what do you think is going to come out of the suit? They're suing Apple. Are they going to get, and they're suing them in America, I'm guessing. Do you think they're going to find sympathy on the judge's side?
I think
jury's side?
Yeah, I don't quite know, because Apple is also very good at hiring representation that is able to fight back around these questions. Yeah.
And to play devil's advocate here, I'm trying to think of what excuse, so-called, or what rationale Apple might give. And I think that it's going to be the same thing they said the whole time, is to protect the privacy and security of their platform, of their payment systems, or something like that. It makes their apps more secure. I wonder if that's the reasoning. I'm not sure. Have we heard from Apple on this yet?
I mean, it's mainly I think the main thing they're saying is that Epic is violating the policy that they initially agreed to. And that's true. They did. This is a protest. This is a protest. So Apple is within its rights to remove the app, remove Fortnite, and do whatever they need to do for anybody who's violating it. There is more of a discussion that needs to be made for, is this fair?
I think so. I'm excited for them to get into court and for documents to be made public so we can dig in and see, have there been negotiations beforehand where Epic was like, yo, if you don't let us charge a lower price in on our app, we're going to try to sue you. Did they give any forewarning to Apple before they just did this in their app? You know what I mean?
And listen, a lot of this they must have had some discussions, because we know Amazon has a sweetheart deal with Apple. We know some other companies do too.
Yeah, it's very unfair, for sure.
It's unfair. I can see why people are complaining. This is not the first time Epic has done this. Rather than play ball with Steam, Epic. Yeah. Rather than play ball with Steam on Windows, they actually launched their own game launcher, the Epic Games Launcher, So they can have the store, and they were saying they weren't going to take as much money from developers who worked with them compared to what you give up on Steam. So this is Epic's deal. It's what they do. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think that there is a bigger question, right? Of course, Apple owns the App Store. They own everything. This is their platform. Is there a point where your platform gets big enough where you can't just be out there dictating, everybody pays high fees except for certain partners? Is that anti-competitive? And I think given Apple's size, that is an argument that we can make. And this goes to what we were talking about during the antitrust episode. Our whole idea of thinking of companies and how they're anti-competitive or not really has to evolve and really has to change. Apple's always able to say, hey, we're not the biggest phone, platform out there. Android's so much bigger. How can we be anti-competitive? But I think you can if you're big enough. Even
Also, they hold all the control.
Size.
Android's just like open. There's AOSP and there's Android, and it's more of an ecosystem. Apple is just one vertical.
You still, like Android stuff, you still have to pay when you put apps up on the Google Play Store. There are workarounds for that, but
there are rules to stick to too. Yes.
Yeah, they also Epic did the thing where they offered the Android version of Fortnite as a side-loading APK, so you had to install it manually rather than get it through the store.
And it's easier to sideload things on Android, by the way.
I mean, you actually can.
Yeah.
You
don't have
can't
to
really do
jailbreak
that
anything
on iOS.
Yeah.
So hey, this is what Epic does. They're just trying to push rules and ultimately save money for themselves. That's all it is. But I hope this stuff can eventually help smaller developers, because it's a big issue. And now developers need more cash. Yeah.
I do wish that this had happened before the congressional hearing, so that we could have seen them grill Tim Cook on this particular issue. I'm surprised it didn't even come to light.
They did not do
much.
To light.
Yeah, they did
did
not.
Very little.
Tim
Anyway,
Cook got away.
Tim Cook got away very easily. If you want to read more about this, we have an op-ed video about this, I believe, by Jessica Condit over Engadget.
My favorite.
Our
Jess
fave.
Condit.
We love Jess. But Jess talks about what this means. So go check that out on YouTube. Check out her posts. This is going to be an ongoing story. But I think it's really interesting that, man, these companies, I can imagine there was some marketing firm out there or Epic's team that was just wouldn't it be cool if we used Apple's own 1984 ad against them? So ridiculous.
Cheeky.
Stay tuned.
Okay, good for this mini section. So the general sentiment from the chat was that this was pre-planned, which is totally
Obviously.
understandable.
It seems quite,
to the point where it's a lot like the debates, like the presidential debates, where they are trying to get this one specific hit in, and Kamala Harris and bussing on Joe Biden. And then immediately 30 seconds after she finished her point, her campaign store was updated with a school picture of her.
That's
an elementary school picture of her immediately. So this was probably something that was in the works for a while. This update that they did was probably something that was okay, yes, we've got our marketing stuff in place, so when
you don't
we
just
get banned,
accidentally do this and have a lawsuit ready.
Exactly. And so
we have questions. I see you dropped one here.
It was about the Surface Duo versus
that's
the
unrelated. Let's get to that after we're done with platforms. So let's actually just go straight into Facebook now.
Okay. Okay, in other news about platforms overreaching and maybe abusing their power a little, Facebook announced this week that they're going to be forcing Oculus users, don't forget, Facebook owns Oculus, they're going to be forcing Oculus users to use Facebook accounts starting January 1st, 2023. And this is interesting because I know a lot of people probably haven't had hands-on time with Oculus headsets. They all require you to log into an Oculus account to use them. And for the longest time, since its inception, it's always been a separate account. There is some Facebook integration, but Oculus has always been its own thing. I've always appreciated that because I don't want to give up too much of my identity and data to Facebook. So for me, as somebody who deals with Oculus stuff all the time, this really sucks. And this is what I was worried about when Facebook bought Oculus in the first place. Oculus was this nice, cool, innovative little startup by a CEO who seemed really smart at the time and intriguing. That's a longer story, but Oculus is still a really interesting company, and this kind of sucks because we don't know what this means for data. We don't know what this means for privacy, like what Facebook is going to be doing with this data. I think a lot of people kind of held their nose and used Oculus products and just hoped it wouldn't get too Facebooky. And now, at least in a couple of years, you won't be able to avoid it. Any thoughts, Cherlynn?
I don't like it. I mean, for me, I'm like I said earlier in other episodes, I have been trying to limit the amount of Facebook apps that I have to use because it's inescapable. Facebook's already very hard to get away from. I've managed to get away from the entire social network, but I still have to use Instagram and WhatsApp or whatever. Thankfully, those are still not super connected yet, but I, at least on the WhatsApp end, when I have not had as much experience with Oculus as you have, but I have tried it out. And to me, even creating an Oculus account was very much like, oh, what a pain. I don't want to have to do this. But I felt like you said a little bit better that it was separate from my Facebook stuff. However, I did have to sign into Facebook to share some clips that I had taken from within the headset.
The only way to share content from headsets is to send it to Facebook recently.
Exactly, which seems like a pretty flawed method, but whatever. It feels like a way to force me to sign into my Facebook at that point, which is now what they're outrightly coming out and doing. So there's a motive here. There's something that Facebook is trying to do, whether it is to understand your habits better so they can serve you more ads, or I don't really know what other data they want to collect from my use of a VR headset, other than the fact that I'm very bad at Beat Saber. But, well, actually, I'm very good. But yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel like Facebook is trying to remind people that it owns these apps in some way, like when they added their logo to Instagram and WhatsApp on the start.
It is this sort of like Facebook Borg just slowly coming in and taking over the identity of the smaller things that they pick up. And hey, that's understandable. We don't actually know what this actually means. So we don't know if you're giving up more privacy or if you're giving up anything by logging in through Facebook rather than Oculus. We're still waiting on the new terms. This is all just kind of up in the air. For me, just as somebody who uses a lot of VR stuff, I think it's crummy. It makes me want to take a much closer look at Steam VR and kind of stay there, or Windows Mixed Reality. And the whole Windows Mixed Reality and Steam thing is so nice because they all interoperate. Microsoft is like, whatever, we'll build VR into Windows, but you can use Steam headsets and vice versa. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done within VR hardware to kind of make everything cross-compatible. But Oculus has always, going to be their own thing. I'm just disappointed. And let me just say, like, I see Ben asking, like, who would you actually want to share your Oculus clips with? Hey, it's actually really great because what they do is they take a video of one eye lens. So every VR headset has two lenses that you're seeing. It takes video from one lens, it turns it into a normal, like, widescreen video, and it pushes that out to your Facebook. So people can see, like, oh, I'm going through Google Earth or something, or I'm playing this game. And you can get like a flat 2D version of what you're going through in VR. I found it really useful to share things like that. You can also live stream. You can live stream from an Oculus Quest or Oculus headset to show people. So giddy. Yeah, it's crazy, and I think like that integration. Hey, I would love for them to open it up to Twitch and other platforms, but for now, through Facebook, it at least works. There's going to be a lot for us to talk about, so I'll keep an eye on this. As somebody who likes Oculus, this is just pretty disappointing. And similarly, Facebook is trying its darndest to compete with TikTok. And this, I think, is more of a fail situation. We didn't talk about Instagram Reels last week when they launched, which is their straight up TikTok competitor. But this week, there was also news that Facebook added this weird thing. They added suggested posts at the bottom of your Instagram feed. And those are going to be ads. Those are going to be, algorithmically chosen posts for you to go through and like. Basically, they're making your feed infinite, which directly goes against the thing they launched 2 years ago to show you the end of your feed, to be like, hey, step away from Instagram for a bit. It's just, it seems desperate to me.
So this just started showing up on my feed like a day or two ago, and it infuriates the heck out of me because, first of all, I don't care about any of this other content. I very carefully limit who I follow, and I mute everyone that I don't want to see things from, so that my feed is exactly what I want it to be. And they've tried this before. I have had my feed interrupted by suggested posts from people I don't want before. And then they're just going back and forth on this. It's very annoying. I'm like, I don't need this infinite feed. My feed's already pretty infinite. I just go back and see older stuff from people. But I feel like with everything that Instagram has done, like when it tuned its algorithm to show things that it thinks are more relevant rather than chronologically, like a few years ago, people are just gonna I guess get used to it. I don't know. I hope that they just remove it.
Sure. They won't, because they have to make money. Like, that's the thing. I'm
looking at the ads. I'm buying stuff off of Instagram.
But
ads
what if
already.
you could look at more ads, Cherlynn? More ads. What if you could just always scroll and always be seeing ads? What if you were a little guinea pig constantly feeding money to Facebook?
What I'm going to do, and what I suggest people do, I don't know if this is actually a good idea, but anytime I see like so-called the end of my feed and then like the suggested posts come up, I just close the app. I'm like, hard close, rage quit, bye. Like, cable flip, gone. And I feel like if I do this enough, that they might know that user engagement is down and whatever. Like, if you didn't serve me suggested posts, I'll stay on your app for longer. But now that you're showing me this kind of crap in my feed, I'm leaving. And
Cherlynn wants to be the big drop in the ocean of Facebook users. So I mean,
go
for it.
Important.
Protest it in certain ways.
I want to say
that,
Reels is hilarious because I just don't. They've launched it and I can't tell the difference between that and stories. And
it's really hard. So both so Carissa Bell and Engadget wrote up Reels, and then Nicole Lee talked about the experience. They both wrote about it. But Nicole talked about her experiences, and she thought it was like perfectly fine. But the thing I hear from a lot of people, and Carissa talked about that with us too, is it's very confusing. It's very confusing.
There's too many things.
Too many things. It's hard to navigate compared to TikTok, which is just like you open an app and you see fun videos and you keep scrolling, you see more fun videos, and the app is smart enough to learn what fun videos you like and feeds you more of them. Like, that is ultimately what Facebook is competing against, and they can't quite do it. So they're so desperate. Man.
It's Instagram's trying to be everything, and it's trying to beat everyone. And I will say that we had similar feels when Instagram launched stories, right? The obvious Snapchat competitor. Right. And back then we were like, didn't like this row of things at the top of my thing. Now I think people watch stories more than they do actually post to grids. So I will say, I think that Instagram has the benefit of having this huge user base that will eventually adopt whatever they, implement. But I still find, maybe I'm crazy. Old. I find Reels a little.
you remember history too, because it's like, what's funny is that Facebook has basically become the Windows of social networks, where Facebook proper is just like this monster of just features and things and a crappy interface and everything interconnected. And then they're doing the same thing with Instagram, where it's just trying to be everything. Meanwhile, the nimble new, innovative apps and startups and stuff can do just like one thing. Clearly, TikTok is building on what was great about Vine, like just instantly accessible, entertaining videos, and also an easy ability to create them and an easy ability to sync them up to music. I've been sitting a little through more TikTok now, so I can feel like I'm getting a sense of it.
Oh, no.
What sucks, what is crazy is that the algorithm is dangerous. Like, the TikTok algorithm is so good, it may be too good. And what we're seeing is Facebook really scrambling to fight against that. I've noticed that too. Like, I'm good at just jumping in and out. Like, what's going on TikTok, jump in and out. Maybe I get linked from Twitter or something. What I do like is seeing TikTok videos in Twitter, because I can really control my Twitter experience. But when my wife launches TikTok,
she's there for hours.
She is just there, just scrolling. I'm like, oh, this is bad. And then also Sophia, our daughter, is just hanging around, and she will like come over and it's like, hey, what's going on? And then she will just be like engulfed in the TikTok, and then she's learned to swipe up, more. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. This is the way we, fall as a civilization. So TikTok is good, but it's probably too good. I think that's the real issue, and Facebook doesn't know how to compete against that.
Well, we'll see, right, what happens when this buyout of the US side of TikTok operations does to the app, whether it kills its spirit, whether it maintains it, and they become a good competitor to Instagram Reels. And, I will say, like, to your point, one of the good things about TikTok that I keep hearing people call out is the video editing tools. And it would be nice to see some of those tools in other apps, but I just don't know how much of this is flat out copying and how much of this is just talk about anti-competitive, right? Like, we're on one hand, this country is trying to squeeze
copying.
TikTok down, and then on the other hand, you've got huge American companies like copying ideas. So I don't know.
Maybe the American president shouldn't be involved in this
maybe not,
whole thing. I don't
know. Yeah. What are your final thoughts on this, Dev?
Hey, Facebook is so desperate. Facebook is such a sad company where we see them like with stories, they just start copying and they didn't care, which by the way, which is what Microsoft did, which is what people always complained about with Microsoft. In the 90s, people complained about Microsoft buying out competitors or building the same thing and shutting them down. So Facebook is Microsoft now. Deal with it.
All right.
Okay. Good end of the segment. And that's something that I was going to point out also, like with the congressional hearing a couple of weeks ago, the part where Zuck was like, "You're asking a lot of my memory," when he literally just said to the Instagram founder, like, "If you do not sell to us, we will just make the same thing and we will crush you.
We will crush you."
So
while sitting in an evil throne and stroking his white cat.
I'm thinking a little bit that, but also a little bit of the episode of The Simpsons where Homer has a tech company and Bill Gates shows up and Gates is like, "Buy him out, boys."
Love those nerds. We have questions. I saw.
I'm seeing some general sentiment. Like this one interesting thing is, let's see if Facebook tries to stop Microsoft from buying TikTok so they can just suck up all that lost TikTok market share. Not sure how likely that is, but it's an interesting.
They don't need to buy TikTok. They will benefit from somebody else buying TikTok and screwing it up.
Exactly.
Well, screwing it up too.
Also,
like they want TikTok to die. So rather than pay for it, just let somebody mess it up and give it to a company that doesn't know social like Microsoft, right?
Well, I think what you're saying is that they want TikTok to actually bleed out slowly rather than completely just explode.
One of the points that was brought up on the chat also is that TikTok messed up Trump's rally. I think it was, I forget which one.
Don't forget that. Yeah.
But definitely feels like a very like, you did me dirty. I'm gonna like screw you over with the power that I have thing.
I cannot wait till we don't have to talk about this guy anymore. Do we have actual tech questions?
We do have an actual tech question, unrelated to platforms and everything. This is someone who's trying to figure out whether or not they should purchase a Surface Duo or Samsung Fold 2.
That was the one we were holding off.
Dual screen phones.
I mean, hey, this is something I got to remind people. We don't know. We don't know anything. I've had 30 seconds with the Surface Duo last year, and it wasn't working. It wasn't turning on. We have not seen the Fold 2 yet, so I'll say we don't know. Cherlynn, you're the expert, though. What do you think?
There's a lot that I can't say. I will say that you can stay tuned for us to do the real comparison between the two devices. Whenever those things go on sale. That's all public information. That's all
perfect. But also, I think look at the information out there right now. We don't know the price of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2. Hate it. Hate these names.
Great names. Wonderful.
God. We don't know the price, but the last Galaxy Fold, which was just the Galaxy Fold, was $2,400, right?
Yeah, so it was 23, 24. Yeah.
Consider that a potential baseline. We do know the Surface price, and that is going to be $1,400.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of money, but
cheaper.
Likely cheaper. Likely $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah. We basically know that there's going to be probably a huge price difference in the first place. And the second thing is, we haven't put these two against each other yet. We don't know, but it does look like the software experience might be a bit better on the Surface Duo. Again, we still don't know. We don't know. Samsung hasn't shared much about the Z Fold 2. You're going to have to wait till at least September 1st, which is when they're going to publicly announce more information on the Fold.
Good. Do you think we'll actually see the Z Fold 2 this year? Because that seems unlikely.
I'm quite sure we will.
But
I will say whenever we do know more about the Z Fold 2, we're going to talk about it here on the show. Definitely come. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some sort of
Cherlynn,
live
there's
show
a song called
story.
Poker Face, which you may want to just get a sense of. But
I hear they made an entire song about it.
I don't feel like I've given away anything. So.
Okay, let's move on. This is actually a sniper rifle Getting to
Pointed
Yeah,
at my
yeah,
face.
yes,
Okay.
yes. See,
Laser.
like, yeah, a little dot on your forehead.
Yeah.
So in general, there are other people just talking about like different VR platforms.
Yes.
People are talking about Google Cardboard VR. Someone else says that Google
R.I.P..
Cardboard
R.I.P..
makes them dizzy, and so yeah,
It was
since
not
it's
great. It was never
RIP,
great. Yeah.
maybe we don't have to worry about it.
Let me just say, if your only experience in VR is the thing where your first experience has to be good. And if your first experience was Google VR, which was literally a cardboard box over a smartphone, not the greatest experience. So if you've tried it before, made you dizzy, if you felt sick, try some of the newer headsets at some point. If you get your hands on like a sanitized, Oculus Quest, because I think that is the best
That's
overall
really good one,
experience where there are no sensors to set up. It just kind of works and you can do it anywhere. Hopefully that thing gets cheaper because we are hearing rumblings like maybe actually there were some dropped leaked images of a follow-up coming maybe this year. Who knows?
That's when I'll buy the Quest original for cheaper.
Buy the original. The original is a good deal. It'll certainly get cheaper once that's
It's
out.
interesting that you said that because someone else said that they wonder if the cardboard would be better if
with the
on a
90 hertz displays.
Screen. Yeah.
Nope. The cardboard. Let me just say the cardboard sucks because you got to hold it up. It's cardboard.
It's flimsy, and people who have like even OEMs who have made their own headsets based off of cardboard protocols haven't found a way to make it that great yet. The experience you'll still. It's not just the 90 hertz screens. I think also there's something that's the hardware speaking with the software that isn't really quite gelling. So the experience is a little more jittery on cardboard versus something like the Oculus Quest. Oculus Quest is so far my best experience.
You don't want any lag. You don't want any latency when you have
a
screen like right on your face. That will make you throw up. So
also,
you got to get a real headset. Yeah.
And yeah, it's not fun when like you're in VR and your phone vibrates because there's a notification. Now you can do D&D obviously, and some good VR software will do that for you. But then it will start to run hot as well because the battery is just not built for something like this. So yeah, the experience
we need notifications in the VR interface too, and more of that is happening.
It would
like
be
your
good,
phone stuff coming into VR.
Yeah,
we'll see more of that. Yeah,
but right now cardboard, I don't think it's the best.
Cardboard's
I mean, it's
dead.
a good stand-in.
Cardboard is dead. Let's not talk about cardboard.
Or something like cardboard. But yeah, to that point, yes.
Phone VR is dead. Yeah.
So let's move into working on. Now, reminder, it is now 11:01 ET, so we can talk about the embargo at the end of this section, but let's just go straight in.
Perfect.
Okay. Now let's move on to what we've been working on. I think I've actually mentioned last week that I'm working on a gaming laptop guide. Still trekking on that. It is a very long thing because a lot of it is like, what kind of screen do you want? What kind of processor do you want? Compared to when I wrote this 2 years ago, things are a lot more complicated. So keep an eye out for that. We'll certainly be talking about it here on the show soon too. But it's been a good year for gaming laptops, so I think that's good. And not quite working on, but something I have been playing with is TCL's new 8 series micro LED TV. Ooh. And this is just like a personal thing. Like I just bought this over the weekend because moved to a new house. My space is completely different than when I was in a cramped Brooklyn apartment. So all of a sudden, like my 55-inch OLED, very nice TV, couldn't quite cut it. I needed something a little bigger, at least for like the family room to sit and watch movies and stuff. So I went for this TV. It's on sale. And I think we actually linked to a Best Buy sale because it was half off compared to what it launched at. It launched at $2,000 to be a premium set. It is now going for $1,000 for the 65-inch. That's pretty good. Pretty good. It's actually more expensive than most other TCL sets because you can get like the 6 series for $700 or $800, right?
Yeah,
so
I was surprised it cost that much. I was like, TCL, $2,000, really?
TCL
wow.
Actually, and now the biggest TV manufacturer in the world, basically is going a high end with the set. I just want to say it is very impressive what they've managed to do. So micro LED is this technology where they basically taken a lot of the LED backlights and shrunk them down. So there are thousands of them along the back of the TV providing backlight. So it is almost like an OLED experience. And the great thing about OLED, and the reason I will love OLED forever, is that every single pixel of OLED is its own individual light source. So every pixel of OLED will turn on and off. That gives you great black levels. That gets you great contrast and good looking video in general. I love OLED. Couldn't afford a 65-inch OLED. So this micro LED is like almost there. It's also not like going to be my main home theater TV. So hey, first world problems, but I would like to watch my movies and just hang out and veg out when I'm not working with a slightly larger screen. So shout out to the 8 series TCL TV. I'm really digging it. It's a good deal, and if you can get it on sale, check out our deal link about that, because I think it's a pretty solid deal for that price. What have you been working on, Cherlynn?
I finally, and always with the things I can't talk about. I'm a very bad secret keeper, but let's talk about what I can talk about first. Okay. Last week, after we recorded the podcast, the reports came out that the USPS was retiring mail sorting machines, and Friday mornings are my news jam shifts. So I was there to help out with like this breaking news story, and I wrote a piece about that. It was, Vice's tech vertical motherboard had come across or found internal documents that said that up to 502 mail sorting machines were being removed ahead of, and then we know the timing is interesting because the elections are coming up and a lot of people are expected to do
timing is really interesting, huh? I wonder why this is happening.
And let's talk about the timing a little bit more too, because the Postmaster General that's currently in office, Louis DeJoy, I think is how you pronounce his name, and he just took the post in June. And he, gave an opening address.
A guy who actively worked against the post office in his professional life. Is now
I didn't know his history that way, but I know that he has a good relationship with Donald Trump. So for me, when I want to give you guys a bit of behind the scenes here, when I was working and writing the story, I wanted to be very careful not to point fingers or do anything that's making accusations that I didn't know anything about. So all I did with that story is to pull things from statements that he'd already made in public, like his opening remarks to the board of governors for the USPS. Sure. And he himself admits that he does have a good working relationship with Trump. But he does also point out that like he would not do anything at the direction of the president that would harm the post office and all of that stuff. You can read the article for like
I forget if the Trump statement came after this article or along the same time, but Trump like straight out said like, we are doing this to slow down the mail.
It was after. We're doing this
to... Listen, when a crook is lying, listen to what they're saying. But yeah.
What happened this week then was, I think yesterday or the day before, Louis DeJoy then announced that they're going to stop some of these measures that they have put in, or they had started, like retiring the mail sorting machines and removing some of these post boxes that we've been seeing being removed until the election is over. So that's what he is saying. And that in Jess Condit's story about that, I think she also points out to what President Trump had earlier said, that yes, we're going to try to slow down the USPS. And that's very concerning. I think for me, it was a crash course in both the USPS's history and its role in America, as well as US politics really quickly, just because like I had to turn this article around in like an hour or less. And then I had to like learn so many things because like I didn't know as much about the USPS until I did now. So anyway, that's what I worked on last week. And then this week I was working on an embargo that just broke this morning at 11 a.m. Google has released a set of updates to the Pixel Buds. And if you recall, the Pixel Buds were released in April this year. We're talking about this year's model, not the 2017 model. And this set of updates brings about 4 different sets of tools. We've got transcribe mode in the conversation translate feature, wherein you used to have to like press a button on the phone or the butt to like hear what the other person is saying, let go, and then have Google translate it back into your ear for you. Now transcribe mode just lets it happen more or less in real time, but it's for long, like as the person is speaking, it will transcribe what they're saying in your language back to you. I believe there will be a slight delay at the very least, but it's as close as we're getting to real-time translating devices.
Cool. I want this to be a thing, yeah.
And so far, it's launching just for 4 languages. French, German, Spanish, and Italian can be translated to English right now. So that's still kind of a limited set, but they're working on it.
Just in time for us to travel around the world.
Right. I know. That's why I couldn't test this feature very well too, because those 4 aren't languages that I speak, and I could find someone who speaks Spanish to talk to me, but it just was the wrong order, if I'm not wrong too. So anyway,
is this, by the way, because I remember Google was saying something similar with the first Pixel Buds.
Yes.
Is this the thing we've really been waiting for?
Well, I haven't been able to try it because the feature didn't roll out to me in time. B, the original feature that was already on the 2017 model of the Pixel Buds was kind of wonky. So I will really have to try it out now to feel. I mean, I know that Billy Steele, our audio reviewer, in his review of this year's Pixel Buds, said that the feature works back then without the update. So now we're just going to have to put it through its paces again to see if it'll work. And stay tuned, either like to Engadget.com for an update, or we'll be able to share our impressions next time we talk to you. There's also other things like you can disable touch controls. The assistant is a lot smarter on these things. You can share your earbuds with friends, because we're doing that a lot nowadays. But if you share one, let's say, for example, I have 2 buds, right, Dev, and I give you one. You can swipe up and down on your bud to control your volume on that bud, whereas cool. I will only adjust mine on my bud. So I think that's pretty cool too. And yeah, find my buds got a little bit better. You can see a map of where it was last known. So if you're like Devindra and you keep losing your buds, yeah, now this will help you.
Listen, we're not losing anything now because we're not leaving our home.
Everything's at home. Well. Everything's at home. But yeah, plenty to work on and plenty to come. So you know, the work never stops here at Engadget.
Work never stops. Yeah.
We'll find time to relax.
Okay, so let's just go straight through to the picks. A reminder to the chat and everyone watching, we're going to be hanging out for a bit after we're done with this recording. So if you have any questions about anything that we're talking about, or just your own tech questions, you can get in that YouTube chat. You can tweet at Engadget with the hashtag podcast live if you don't want to fight it out in the YouTube chat. And we'll be talking about stuff for, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes after we're done. So let's go straight into picks.
Cool. Well, speaking of relaxing, fun things, let's talk about our pop culture picks. I'm just going to mention a couple of things that I've been watching. Surprisingly enough, I don't typically watch DC TV shows, but I've been spending some time on HBO Max just seeing what's around. And a lot of my friends have been talking about Doom Patrol, which is a series that originally premiered on DC Universe, I believe, last year, and now it's on HBO Max. This show is wild, and I kind of love it because it's a great spin on the standard like superhero, group of people ready to fight the world with an old guy, in charge and everything. This is a show about losers. It's about superhero losers who are all basically outcasts. Like, they're not cool like the X-Men. They're not like, sexy muscle-bound characters. Like, they're losers who've lost in life, and they're living lives of regret in this old house because the entire world hates them. And I think that concept is really interesting. Also, it just stars a whole bunch of people I love. Alan Tudyk from Firefly is the supervillain, and he also narrates the first episode. His supervillain voice is so good. It's amazing. And I love seeing him in everything. It stars Brendan Fraser as a robot man.
Oh, he's back.
I miss Brendan Fraser.
I was wondering where he's been.
Well, he broke his back. That's where he's been. The Mummy 3, I believe, was a torturous shoot for him. And there's a great story about that, about how it will probably make you cry. But there was a great retrospective on his career and his life that was published, I think, last year or a couple of years ago.
I remember seeing that
out.
Yeah.
He is very good. And he is a robot man who's sad because his entire family died, probably because of him, too. Matt Bomer from Chuck.
Oh, I love Matt Bomer.
I love Matt Bomer. You will not see Matt Bomer's beautiful face in the show because it's covered in bandages, because he is an energy being or something. Like he was a former astronaut who was sent into space and encountered an energy being, and I think it uncorporated his body or something.
What?
Yeah. Timothy Dalton, one of the more I think unloved James Bonds, but Timothy Dalton is the Professor X in the show. He's the old guy in a wheelchair who is trying to help these people get back to having a normal life. And I think it's really cool. The characters are great. I love the actors. April Bowlby, who's been in a bunch of shows, plays this Elastigirl character, kind of from The Incredibles, except the powers never work the way you want. So her powers is she loses all bone structure in her body. She becomes a blob. Her face just starts melting. Her body just starts melting. That's how she's elastic. So they all have powers in a sense, or super features, but they're not necessarily useful. So I just kind of love it. I love misfit shows. I love shows about losers who can never quite win. So actually, just like Firefly, just like Cowboy Bebop, worth checking out. I love this show so much. It is weird. Be prepared for a lot of weirdness, but I love that about it. And also on HBO Max, is the Harley Quinn show that was also on DC Universe. And hey, by the way, also stars Alan Tudyk, or at least co-stars Alan Tudyk, because he's the new voice of the Joker. And Alan Tudyk's bad guy voice, I love it so much. Great cast in the show. It is a fun, irreverent take on Harley Quinn, very similar to Birds of Prey, the movie that came out, because it's about her like trying to strike out on her own and find her new life. But it's an R-rated cartoon with a lot of the like irreverence and humor from the Venture Brothers, except with actual DC characters. So hey, that's worth checking out. I think you will like both of these things, Cherlynn. Also Doom Patrol is also very R-rated, so watch out if you're watching it with kids or your family, because it starts with like a very gratuitous sex scene that is hilarious and kind of sad, but also real naked people, real swearing. So hey, both things are very fun,
how to sell me. Yeah.
Check them out. And also, I know Cherlynn has been desperate for more superheroes ever since the Marvel Cinematic Universe is on hiatus. So hey, check this out. It is better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., both of them.
Well, okay. So yes, everyone who's seen this podcast before knows that I've been catching up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it was fun to get this message from Devindra out of nowhere on a Saturday. Be like, go watch Doom Patrol and Harley Quinn. I was like, yeah.
I think it was like 11:30 p.m. And I knew you were up watching garbage like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I had to warn you.
But I was like, yes, Doom Patrol is definitely on my list. And now that I've seen the trailer a bit more, some of the footage, I definitely think it looks very interesting. Now, my surprise for you, Dev, recommendation. I think you're going to get mad at me when I say this.
I'm ready.
Only because you wanted to recommend this, I think. So it's Lovecraft Country.
Oh,
and nice. It was, I wanted to recommend this last week because I just was so hyped on the trailer. And I was like, everyone should watch this. But
you can't recommend the trailer, but yes.
I was like, cool down, like calm down, watch the first episode before you talk about it. And I did, because it just released last Sunday. And it's so, it was like an hour and 15 minutes long. And it really only started to get really full on intriguing for me in the science fiction area about an hour in.
We're more like fantasy horror, right? Yeah.
It's fantasy horror. And the premise is I don't know exactly which time period, but it's based on like slightly historical America where there's still like segregation. There's still a lot of like racial injustice. And the first half-ish of the show, or even 3/4 of this episode, was about how it sucks to be a Black person in that time in America. And honestly, like it just made me very angry the whole time because I was just like, these people are awful to our main characters who are, Black men, women living in this America. So it's very relevant to what's going on in our world today, but also there are like enough bits and pieces in there of science fiction rumblings throughout the first 45 minutes or so that will keep you intrigued. But yeah, the action really picks up around the last 15-20 minutes, and that's when it's like, holy crap, this show. I was like, I know that my biggest takeaway is I can't wait to watch the next episode. And that to me is a good sign, right? And
I've been let me just say, Cherlynn, like I've been super excited for the show. It's been so busy that I haven't even had time to watch it. And if you listen to my last me on the Slash Filmcast, there's a great segment where we basically devolve into 2 minutes of absolute silence and laughter because one of my co-hosts decided to preview the show without me, so you could go check that out.
Oh boy.
I will never forgive him for that.
Netflix cheated on you.
Yeah. The thing that's really interesting too about the show is that it is a Black narrative that is about, a H.P. Lovecraft mythology.
Yes, so good.
Lovecraft.
Oh my god.
Notorious racist, like raging racist. So I love seeing like, narratives kind of get retold in this way.
Turned on its head, it's so far very intriguing because the main character is someone who loves Lovecraft's books and is like, looking for them and has a history with some of these books, or maybe even Lovecraft himself. I don't know yet because it's only the first episode. So I don't have any spoilers to share. I literally don't have them. I'm
excited.
It was really good. So yeah, check it out if you have time. The new episodes are on Sunday. So I know what I'm doing this Sunday. I'm going to see what happened to these people. The other thing I wanted to recommend, I know that this is typically billed or recently have been billed to be our pop culture picks, but I have in the past or in the life of this show recommended things like food or skincare products.
Okay.
This week, just in case Devindra beat me to the punch with Lovecraft Country, I decided to prep something else, and I'm going to recommend my favorite brand of oat milk. Because
I
everyone
have to
should try
step
oat
away.
milk. Really?
I
Why?
have to
Do you
leave
not?
the show right now. Please go with your oat milk commercial.
I'm just gonna say I've done a lot of weird, like, I don't know why I'm a reviewer in my private or personal life as well, but I have reviewed a lot of different brands of oat milk. I've tried them all. Well, the big ones anyway: Oatly, Planet Oat, and Chobani oat milk. And my first ever taste of oat milk was Chobani oat milk, and it was great. It was delicious. And then I tried Oatly, which is like the reigning, like everyone's like hype about Oatly. Oatly is good, but it's got a very different gummy texture. And then Planet Oat is the biggest selling brand in the US. And then their taste is just not that great. So anyway, if you've been considering switching to a plant-based milk and don't like soy milk, almond milk, or whatever the hell other milks there might be out there, oat milk's really good. It's really tasty. It's like the nutritional profile is a little bit different. They're higher in calories than say almond milk is, but if you're looking just to go dairy free, I think oat milk's great. And start with Chobani oat milk because that's my favorite, and you will like it. Oatly's good too, but this was not an ad.
Thank you for Oat Milk Corner.
Oat Milk Corner. This
Oat Really.
No, really? This is Cherlynn Loat Milk, which is my current Twitter handle.
Wrap it up, guys. Wrap it up.
We're done.
All right.
I have left the show.
So I can take the outro if that was clean enough of a break.
Do your thing.
Okay. And that's it for the episode this week, everyone. Thank you as always for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Ellman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, and I podcast about movies and TV at the /filmcast at /film.com. Also reviving my Legend of Korra podcast, Republic City Dispatch. I'm joining in with some of my friends and podcasting Titan co-hosts, including Joanna Robinson and Dave Gonzalez, and Matt Patches from Polygon. Search Republic City Dispatch on Google because it's the location is all over the place. But if you find us on your iTunes client or wherever, you'll find the new episode. We are going over every season of Korra. Also, go watch Legend of Korra. It is now on Netflix alongside Avatar: The Last Airbender.
There we go. If you need more hot takes from the land of oat milk and plant-based eating, which I'm starting to try, you can find me at Cherlynn Low on Twitter. Email us your thoughts and feedback at podcast@engadget.com. Please leave us a review on iTunes because that'll help us a lot. And subscribe on anything that gets podcasts, including Spotify.
Woo. All right, then. We're out on the episode.
We're good. And we can do one last bit of question and answer. We can stop recording.
Do you want any of this, Ben?
We can stop recording.
Well, no, actually, let's keep it going. Just
maybe we'll have some fun stuff.
Who knows?
Easter eggs.
Fun stuff will come out. I can't believe that we didn't get paid for that oat milk ad. Jesus.
Wow.
I just mentioned 3 different competing brands that are pretty good. And I also mentioned this on my Twitter a while ago. So it's like...
Yeah.
Just true love.
Really be sponsoring this podcast.
So
like that, I think that's the ultimate.
It's delicious,
conclusion.
though.
This reminds me. Is this why you have I chug milk? Just like
I used to chug milk before I went to dairy-free milk options, but yes, that is on my.
It's just in your Twitter bio with no explanation at all.
No, but that's how I operate.
Normal. That's just normal.
Quick shout out. I see DMan7895 on the chat. I believe that's someone that also follows me on Twitter, Jonathan, if I'm not wrong, but can't be super sure. Hello. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello.
Someone also said that they want to see a Tommy Wiseau Joker when we were talking about.
I would be so into that.
That is called The Room. That is just
The Room.
It's fine.
But I would be so into that.
What if it was Heath Ledger's Joker, but instead it was just entirely inspired
I think
Tommy
honestly,
Wiseau?
I think the Joker movie was very much a Tommy Wiseau movie. So anyway, I have feelings about that garbage fire.
I remember seeing this just now, and so we're seeing a question from Derp, I think for you, Devindra, about eGPUs. Are they still useful as mobile platforms are getting more powerful?
That is a good question. I think most people would be better off just like spending the extra money to get like a decent mobile GPU, like a GTX 1650 Ti, or the RTX 2060. And that is actually the thing I'm recommending most in the gaming laptop guide. A mid-range $1,400 to $1,500 gaming laptop with an RTX 2060 will last you for a while. You can plug that into a TV and use it like a console. You could do a lot with that. So eGPUs are expensive. You also pay like an extra $200 to $300 for the eGPU case. Then you have to actually buy the GPU. and then you actually lose some bandwidth in Thunderbolt as well. Like, it is not going to be as fast as a built-in GPU of the same caliber. So, hey, if you have a spare graphics card around, if you have multiple machines, an eGPU could be a good way to get graphics performance across different machines. But if it's just like one laptop you have, yeah, get a good chip in there instead.
I do see another question about picking a computer case. They've narrowed it down to Corsair. Are there any suggestions inside that Corsair ecosystem?
I have Corsair. So you mean like an actual desktop case? So let me actually, because we can do this now, because we're not on the road.
Ooh, you can show
Just
your
point
case.
down.
Ooh.
My case, my mess of a case, is a Corsair. It is a Corsair tempered glass case. So the entire case is glass. It is not strong, but it sure is very pretty. So, hey, I like that. Corsair makes a lot of metal ones too. So I like Corsair. They're good.
Well, yeah, I don't think we are as up to speed on every single cases that the Corsair makes to like recommend you a specific one just yet. But you know, you're on the right track. Corsair.
Make sure you have room. Make sure you have room, and like an enclosed water cooler for the CPU. I'd recommend too.
So I'm seeing one thing about the longevity of Surface devices. Can you talk to the longevity of Surface devices? Because someone said they've had 2 Surface devices that just die on them. Yeah. So would it be worth it to get the Surface Duo, given Microsoft's track record on that then?
You know, I have in my home currently every single Surface device that was produced, because for some reason Microsoft doesn't want them back, and they're just like, hey, hold on to them, I guess. I don't know. Most of them still work. Like, my wife has been using a Surface Pro 4, the like 3-year-old one, like for several years, and it's still like going strong. I think because of the fact that they have that hinge, and because you're moving around those machines more than a typical laptop, they do fail more often because you use a Surface maybe more like you use a tablet. So that is a risk I think you pay for with the form factor. Surface Duo, we have no clue what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Let me just say, I wrote about this last year. I think the durability of having 2 screens side by side connected by a hinge is inherently going to be better than having a single folding screen. You know, like that, the folding screen tech is cool, but it doesn't look great. We're still seeing a ton of issues. They're so expensive. At the very least, I'd say the Surface Duo would be a better buy than an actual folding device. But hey, we don't know anything yet, so I'm looking forward to reviewing it. Yeah.
Speaking of longevity, I'm seeing something about the longevity of Samsung Active watches, especially for something that you're going to be wearing on workouts. How does that hold up?
Generally, it's held up pretty well. I mean, the Galaxy Watch Active and the Watch Active 2 have been the ones I've kept on my wrist the longest. Every time I get new review units of them, I switch them out. And then whenever I have to go back to testing like a Fitbit or a Wear OS watch, I test that for like however long it takes me to test it for a review. And then I swap back to the Watch Active because I just prefer it. And it's been like a year since the Watch Active, and maybe the Watch Active 2 as well. They're still fine. I can't say to like longer than that just because I haven't had them for longer than that. But for daily wear and during workouts and stuff, they hold up. But bear in mind, I'm not wearing these things to bed. Like I don't do sleep tracking in general because I don't like to wear watches to bed. I've said this before. So I don't know if that affects it. It shouldn't. But that's one thing that I'm not doing that some people might do that may or may not impact their experience.
Have you tried sleeping with the Watch 3 again? Or
no, I was so angry at it. The Watch 3 I don't know that it ruined my sleep, but it definitely like reminds me of that garbage night of sleep that I had.
You don't want a big thing on your wrist. Like, I think there should be like there should be smaller, thinner devices that maybe can talk to your smartwatch and be like, hey, I'm the sleep tracker or something.
No, there's like sleep trackers that you can just insert under your mattress or whatever. Yeah. Those are my preferred method of tracking my sleep, because I think those are also slightly better at tracking when you've moved, because you know, overall like tremor, but
they can't track breathing rate and things like that. Like,
heart rate isn't something they can track unless they have some like galvanic like tech conductor on the bed sheet. I don't know.
Well, also, let me just tell you about baby monitor tech. Some of them use infrared and other tech to like tell how your child is breathing. We don't know if that stuff works really well yet. Like the tech exists. I don't know how effective it is, but that's a thing. Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
I'm not sure, but Cherlynn, can you show us the Galaxy Note?
Yes,
20?
I have the Note 20 Ultra here, and
So is there anything like super unique and visual only, or like specifically visual that
I mean, I think the S Pen is the most visual thing. And I mean, I think the display is also great. I'm not gonna. This is great, but I can't show you really. It's not like.
So when you're doodling, you're just doodling on the locked screen like that.
Right now, I am, but you can also use the Samsung Notes app or whatever app you want. Like this works on all the
my question is though, like, okay, it's if some situation comes up where you're like, oh my god, I have to take notes, and you're not even like thinking about opening the notes app, just like writing straight down onto the screen, can you then say, hey Samsung, I would actually like to save this scribbled thing?
Yes, you can. That's the whole point of screen. So the thing that you were talking about where I was writing on the lock screen is called screen off memo. And screen off memo, like whatever you scribble, like I just wrote oat milk just now, all you do is like when you're done when you're done, you just like it would automatically save to Samsung Notes. You can pull it up again. And the nice thing about Samsung Notes is that it's smart enough to know, like, when you've handwritten a to-do list or a note, it will index your handwriting. It will recognize it, convert those words, index them so that you can search for it later on. So for example, I've maybe written like 700 to-do lists or something, and I'm looking for my IFA planning or my Samsung planning note. So all I have to do is search for the word IFA and my handwritten note pops up.
That's
so
nice.
It's very smart, and Samsung's done a lot to improve. Oh, guess what? It just asked me if I got my S Pen because I've held the S Pen out for too long. Like, hey bro, put me back in.
God.
Wait, is that like to keep you from losing it? Or
I think partly to keep you from losing it, but also the S Pen needs to be charged because as it was introduced in last year's Node, the S Pen also acts as sort of a Bluetooth remote control. So it's got like some components in there that need charging. I find it very useful for like taking selfies when you're trying to nail a yoga pose or something like that.
Okay, so I think we're probably on the way out. Now, last week we were like, let's say thanks to the video people. So let's say thanks to the video people.
Thank you, video team.
Engadget Podcast Live is produced and made possible by Greg Carmel, Kyle Mack, and Julio Baranitos. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I did speak like okay Spanish a few years ago.
I also see Jules Armin in our
and Owen
here, and Owen Davidoff.
And Owen Davidoff. So thank you to the Engadget video people, and we will be back not this week, but not next week, but the week after, the first week of September. We're taking 1 week off to get ready for just general stuff that is happening in September, because there's so much happening in September.
1 week to just sit and meditate and prepare for the iPhone and for everything. And also, hey, the Surface Duo is coming. It is coming
soonish.
September 10th.
September 10th.
Excited.
The Z Fold 2 is September 1st is when we're going to know more information publicly. So stay tuned for all of that for the next episode, which is not next week, but the week after. Thank you so much for joining us on the chat. We really appreciated all your comments. Everyone, that's been super nice. Please let us know what you like about this format, what you don't like about this format, how we can improve, and what you want to see more of.
Subscribe to the show. If you like it, subscribe, and leave us
All
reviews.
right, then. We're out.
We're out.